What if Nen, as a power system, existed in Demon Slayer? You see, we know that breathing styles don't actually give you elemental powers. They are just about mimicking the motion of whatever they're named after. Like flame breathing mimics the motion of flames, water breathing mimics the motion of water, while the sun breathing, the greatest of them all, mimics the sun. Of course, this doesn't mean the Demon Slayers don't have supernatural powers. They have the Demon Slayer mark, see-through world, and the red Nichiren blade. But here's the reality. In comparison to the blood demon arts of the demons, which are basically out of Jujutsu Kaisen, the Demon Slayers themselves are just pure swordsmen. However, that is all about to change. We're going to introduce Nen to the Demon Slayer world, and it'll change the story in more ways than you can expect. Just hear me out, this is as good as it gets. We're going to start with Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the top one of the verse who basically no-diffed Muzan. He's the origin of both the breathing styles and the mark, but what will he be in this version of the story? Here's what I think. Yoriichi is still born special, and he is still chosen by the heavens to kill Muzan. But rather than just the mark, the see-through world, and the selfless state, Yoriichi is also born as a Nen Specialist. Keep in mind that a Specialist is a rare Nen user whose ability doesn't fit the other 5 categories. So what would his ability actually be? We're going to combine his see-through world and sun breathing into one by giving him a Nen ability called Sun's Reflection. Of course, he comes up with it himself as he grows older because that's just how you progress your own Nen. As for what it does, well, he can perceive, understand, and perfectly mimic any motion, technique, or energy flow he witnesses down to its molecular level. It's almost as if he can understand the essence of movement itself. And because he can mimic any motion, he'll naturally come up with sun breathing, because that style is perfect for killing Muzan. But this is where it gets really interesting. He'll also teach it to fellow Demon Slayers, but unlike the main story, he'll teach them the basics of Nen, but also still create the 5 primary breathing styles as safe, ritualized Nen forms that anyone can learn. These 5 styles would be based on the 5 primary Nen types, and you'll be surprised at how much this actually makes sense. Basically, after realizing his true potential as a specialist who can mimic any energy flow, Yoriichi will also come to understand Nen as 5 fundamental expressions of life energy, and here is how it's going to go. Flame breathing would be transmutation. It'll be about changing the quality of your aura into something else, like for example, heat or flames. Water breathing would be manipulation. This would be about controlling objects or energy outside oneself. Since water is fluid and adaptable, and manipulators excel at directing external forces, it fits perfectly. Thunder breathing would be emission. This is about separating aura from the body and projecting it outward. And it makes sense, thunder is explosive and fast, and emitters excel at releasing aura as blasts or waves. Stone breathing would be enhancement. This would be about strengthening oneself or objects with aura, and it makes sense because stone is unyielding, just like enhancers. Finally, wind breathing would be conjuration. This would be about creating tangible, independent constructs from aura. And again, it fits. Wind is invisible, yet tangible, just like how conjurers create real things out of thin air. Now, you may be wondering, what about the derivatives? What about love, serpent, or insect breathing? It's simple. If the derivative aligns properly with the parent style, it stays the same Nen type. But if it's a hybrid or a unique deviation, basically a deviation where multiple Nen types are equally relevant, it means that Demon Slayer is actually a specialist. Let me explain. First, let's look at the styles that inherit their parent Nen type. Love breathing, derived from flame, is still transmutation because it's about giving aura flexible, whip-like properties. Serpent breathing, from water, is still manipulation because it's about directing aura in coiling serpentine paths. Sound breathing, from thunder, is also still emission, just specialized into sound waves and vibrations. Tengen is basically a highly creative emitter. Yes, even if all these involve a little bit of a different Nen type, it works because even in Hunter x Hunter, you can still use abilities of a different Nen type even if it's not your primary type. So having said that, what would be a good example of a Demon Slayer who uses a derivative but is actually a specialist? It'd be Inosuke. Beast breathing has elements of multiple Nen types. The wind-like slashes are conjuration, but the animal instinct aspect is definitely enhancement. And then you have those unorthodox movement patterns which could be manipulation. Basically, Inosuke's beast breathing doesn't fit neatly into one category because his nature is too adaptive and wild. He is a specialist. Another specialist could be Shinobu with her insect breathing. It's derived from flower, which comes from water breathing as in manipulation, but the ultra-speed poison thrusts in her style require enhancement as well. Of course, Yoriichi Yoriichi is the OG specialist, and the same would go for Michikatsu, aka Kokushibo, with his moon breathing. And then there's Tanjiro. He'll start off as a manipulator with his water breathing, but eventually, thanks to Hinokami Kagura, he'll awaken to the fact that he is a specialist similar to Yoriichi, and that he too can mimic the sun. Overall, Yoriichi's teachings on the 5 styles and the fundamentals of Nen will be passed down. Eventually, some of the knowledge might get blurry as generations pass, since no one of Yoriichi's caliber will appear again. But one thing is for sure: to become a demon slayer, you must master the fundamentals of Nen, which Yoriichi personally named Ten, Ren, and Zetsu. Think about it. Total concentration breathing is basically Ren plus 10. Zetsu is all about concealing one's aura, and while there's also Hatsu, it's going to be too hard for just anyone. So only the Hashira and promising slayers would master Hatsu, which would be their personal breathing style. This would ironically make the Demon Slayer course so much more effective. I mean, Tanjiro didn't figure out total concentration breathing until after the battle with Rui, Lower Moon 5. So if anyone who is even participating in the selection is already able to use this, kids wouldn't be sent to the grinder every time there's a barely powerful demon like the Hand Demon. Okay, so that's the Demon Slayer corpse, but what about Muzan? This is where things get kind of complicated, but don't worry, it's also going to make just as much sense, so stick with me here. You see, in the main story, the curse plaguing the Ubuyashiki bloodline and the restriction keeping Muzan from the sun are almost mystical, but in this version, they are going to be advanced, self-perpetuating Nen curses created from the blue spider lily. The blue spider lily would serve as a botanical anomaly that absorbs and concentrates life energy, similar to how anime treats the idea of a philosopher's stone. And if we're talking parallels with Hunter x Hunter, this would be like a flower from the dark continent that only grows twice or thrice every few years because the human world just doesn't have the right ecosystem for it. As for what it actually does, well, when ingested, it can amplify Nen abilities to irreversible levels, turn vows into biological curses, and bind souls across generations. Which brings us back to Muzan. When the doctor feeds him the medicine and it finally starts working after he has already killed the doctor, it also unconsciously enacts a massive Nen vow. A vow that says, "I will live forever, no matter the cost." But in exchange, his body will forever be rejected by the sun. The blue spider lily used in the medicine locks this vow into his cells. It turns it into a biological Nen curse that alters his very DNA. But it doesn't stop there. It also curses every soul that shares his bloodline with a weak disposition, which is exactly why every Ubuyashiki starts dying early. In the main story, the Ubuyashiki family goes to a priest, but here they go to a priest related to the doctor, who is actually a Nen exorcist. But even he won't be much help because the curse simply won't go away until Muzan himself is killed or exorcised. Meanwhile, Muzan himself, who is already strong from becoming a demon, will realize his own personal Nen potential as a specialist. The ability he'd come up with would be called cellular sovereignty. Basically, Muzan would have absolute dominion over his own biological matter and any life form that assimilates it. This breaks down into 3 absurd powers: blood bonding, genetic memory, and adaptive evolution. Blood bonding means anyone who ingests his blood becomes a Nen-linked demonic extension of him. He can see through them, control them, or even detonate them at will. Genetic memory means he retains all memories and experiences of every demon he controls. And adaptive evolution means he can consciously evolve his own biology to overcome almost any weakness, except for sunlight, which has been permanently locked by that blue spider lily vow. Of course, there will be limitations. It only works on those who take his blood, and sunlight completely severs these connections. But when he combines all of this with the immortality and Nen amplification from the blue spider lily, he can basically recreate biokinesis, which is his original blood demon art from the main story. Okay, now that we've also covered Muzan, let's talk about Yoriichi versus Muzan. In this battle, Yoriichi's sun breathing would disrupt Muzan's cellular sovereignty by destroying his entire aura network. This would cause Muzan's cells to panic and burn from the inside out. Muzan still survives by splitting his consciousness and aura into a stupid number of pieces, but the Nen print from Yoriichi's attacks would be permanently engraved into Muzan's very soul. Yes, exactly. Yoriichi's Nen is so pure and so sun-aligned that it leaves spiritual scars on Muzan's aura. This is exactly how Muzan becomes able to feel Yoriichi's presence in future sun breathers, and this leads to a massive realization about Nezuko. It explains why, even after Muzan turns her into a demon, her soul remains protected. Because she comes from a family that has been practicing the same motions as the man who scarred Muzan in the form of Hinokami Kagura, that Nen heritage acts as a protective shield. But it gets even better. When she eventually awakens as a Nen enhancer, she's able to enhance that same pure Nen until her body can actually adapt to the sun itself. Now, all of this brings us to the climax of the final battle against Muzan. As everyone is out of breath and the bodies are piling up, Tanjiro, whose body is also wrecked, reaches the pinnacle of his understanding of Nen. Through the see-through world, he sees the spiritual wounds left behind by Yoriichi over 400 years ago. And because these can only be seen by someone who shares Yoriichi's exact type of Nen, Tanjiro realizes that those scars are a guide left specifically for him to finish the the job. Tanjiro's own personal sun breathing finally clicks. As a specialist, he disrupts Muzan's internal network at the exact points where Yoriichi struck him centuries ago. Muzan lashes out in a desperate survival move, but then the sun finally begins to rise. This triggers the blue spider lily vow, the one that decreed the sun would forever restrict his body. His body starts to incinerate, but unlike the original story where he tries to take over Tanjiro, here he tries to form a Nen vow to save himself. But Giyu notices him doing that and uses his water breathing to manipulate the moisture in the air and ground, to create water bindings that disrupt Muzan's aura flow. This momentarily freezes Muzan, who is already a mess of regenerating flesh. Then, the rest of the crew jumps in. Inosuke shreds the already scarred network Yoriichi left behind, and Tanjiro lands the final blow with his 13th form. All of this happens in total unison. Giyu's water bindings hold Muzan's aura in place. Inosuke's chaotic Nen slashes prevent any cellular rearrangement, and Tanjiro's final form severs Muzan's internal connection so completely that his body is too fractured to even justify a coherent Nen vow. It is finally over. It's the end. But I know you must have many questions about how certain things would play out in this reality. Like, what about Tamayo? Well, she was there when Yoriichi mogs Muzan, and as it turns out, what Yoriichi did back then permanently severed Muzan's connection with every demon he had under his control at that point. That includes Tamayo, and it basically forced Muzan to start from zero once he recovered. Keep in mind that the narrative here would treat the sun breathing, which mimics the motion of the sun, as the sun itself, which is why it'd be so effective against Muzan. I mean, the blue spider lily curse itself pointed out that the sun would restrict Muzan. Next, let's look at Kokushibo and Kaigaku. Since these two are demons who were originally demon slayers, they would still have their original Nen types, specialist for Kokushibo and a mission for Kaigaku. But thanks to their connection with Muzan, they would be able to reimagine their Nen powers. Of course, this goes without saying, but let me point this out. Not all demons would realize their Nen potential. In this narrative, any demon that can't awaken their own Nen type would be treated as Muzan's fodder, Nen Beast, with a light blood demon art. But those who can would be allowed to join a special group called the 12 Kizuki. Those 12 would be fully realized demons with their own blood demon arts, created using their own personal understanding of their Nen type. All of them would be upper moon level, and if a new demon awakens their potential while the spots are full, they can challenge any of the 12 for a seat. Sounds simple, right? Now, what about the Demon Slayer mark? It'll work just like a Nen vow. It enhances your physical attributes, but if you weren't born with it, the cost would be that you'll die before the age of 25. Even Muichiro's memory loss fits here as a self-imposed Nen condition. After the trauma of his family's death, he subconsciously locks away his memories to cope. Zenitsu's sleeping style is actually Nen-induced bipolar disorder. And then there's Genya's demonic absorption. This is where it gets crazy. Genya's ability to eat demons and gain their powers would be a specialist-type Nen ability that actually hijacks Muzan's cellular sovereignty. By ingesting demon flesh, he temporarily overwrites his own aura with theirs, which allows him to use their techniques against them. Finally, we have Kagaya Ubuyashiki's visions. These are also a specialist-type Nen ability inherited through the clan to help them eventually defeat the curse. It's basically a high-level form of Nen-guided intuition. And there you have it. Those were my thoughts on what if Nen existed in Demon Slayer. But now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with these Nen types? Is there a character I missed that you're curious about? Do you want me to make a follow-up video on this? What role do you think Tanjiro's Hanafuda earrings would play in this reality? Would they just be Yoriichi's earrings that were passed down through generations? Or would there also be a Nen element to them? Come on, let's keep this conversation going in the comments section down below.